Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at procedural animation in Blender. Let's go. Alright, so this is a really exciting week for me. BugBots, the course I've been working on for a while, is releasing finally over on cgcookie.com. Go check it out. Links are in the description and all that. And it's a project that I've been working on for a while, and I'm really excited to finally get it out there. I hope you check it out. There's actually a free asset pack. If you go over to cgcookie.com, you can sign up for the free account and you can download the asset pack. And it's going to have these little components and stuff that I'll show you here that make up the core of this particular robot. Now, the course covers the creation of 3 unique miniature robots, and each one of them has a very sort of different approaches in terms of materials and the type of textures that we create. So today I'm promoting that course by creating some procedural animation for one of the renders. Now, the beetle here, this is the end of the first bug that we create is this beetle. And what I'm going to do is take it as a base, and this image, we're going to bring it to life using procedural animation, because sometimes, you've got a long timeline, you've got a lot of, space you want to fill. You might have some nice ambient shots, and you don't want to spend hours animating every little detail. You want to find quick, efficient ways to create animation that feels believable, that looks realistic, but kind of manages itself. And that's where procedural animation techniques can come in very handy. So first thing I want to do is get some ambient motion to the leaf. So I'm going to select this leaf model that I have here, which I got from polyhaven.com. Really awesome website. Go check them out. Free assets that you can use. And I'm going to create just some general motion to this leaf to try and help bring this scene to life. Now, one of the best ways to do that is to add a displacement modifier to any kind of organic material like trees or bushes. So let's go to the modifiers tab with the plant selected, and I'm going to click add modifier, and I'm going to type in displace. Select that. You can see that it disappears, becomes a horrifying ball of geometry. And what we're going to do is we're going to click new to create a new texture. Then I'm going to come down to the texture tab. You can see here it's listed texture 001, which is the same one listed here. You can also click this little button. It's like I don't know, quick and easy way just to jump down to this tab. I don't know how this saves me 1 second. Come here and click this. Efficiency, sure. Let's click on this image or movie type. We're going to switch this to clouds. This creates just a general noise pattern. And I'm going to take the size way up. I want this noise pattern to be quite large. So I'm going to go all the way up to 2. You can see we start to get the plant back a little bit. I'm going to go over here to the wrench tab, and I'm going to take the strength right down. I'm going to go to 0.1, maybe less, 0.001. There we go. So it's back. He's standing on it again. It's making hardly any difference to the shape of this mesh. Now, the coordinates are set to local right now, and coordinates are basically that noise that we saw. How should it place that noise across this geometry to distort it? That's what Blender's asking us. We can switch this to object, and what this does is ask for a specific object, and we can create an object in the scene. So I'm going to go Shift-A, and I'm going to create an empty. And with this empty selected, I'll just navigate to it so I know where it's at. There it is. So I'll click the leaf again. I'm going to select the empty here. So I'll just type in E for empty. There it is, .001. And now wherever I move this object, it will take that noise pattern with it. So the texture will actually change based on the position of this empty. So you can see if I grab it, if I select the empty and I grab it, we're going to get this motion in the leaf, which is awesome. So I'm going to create some motion in this empty where it's just going to keep moving in one direction throughout the entire timeline. So to do that, I'm going to come over here to the Z location. I just want to move it up, and you can see how nice that looks when it just moves subtly. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to create a driver. Now, there's lots of ways to create drivers. You can right-click, add a driver, gives you this menu. You can enter all these expressions and stuff and do all kinds of links to other objects. But there's a quicker way of doing it. If you just click the field and then type the hashtag symbol, that will automatically create a driver. It's sort of like a shorthand code for Blender to go, oh, you want a driver. Now we can use another shorthand code, a variable called frame, and that is a built-in variable in Blender that specifically grabs the frame that we're at on the timeline. So this is going to be creating a driver, and it will basically take the frame number. So if I switch over to my timeline, you'll see that the frame is 148, and it's set it to 148 centimeters because of the size. And you can see that's moving Now, this is moving way too fast. We need to slow it down. So we can click here. You can see that the hashtag symbol's gone now. So Blender took that and used it to turn this thing to a driver. So now it just says frame. But we can add some math to this. We can type in the multiplication sign and then 0.1. That will make the frame number smaller. So now it's moving less. That's pretty good. Maybe go a little bit less than that. And the bonus of this is we're also going to get some nice, bonus effects in the background with these plants moving around a little bit. It'll change the lighting. It just brings some life to the shot. One of the things about this this shot here is we've got all these gears, right? See these gears? There's a bunch of gears inside here. There's gears here. There's gears here. And it'd be really cool if we had a way of animating all of them, right? Without having to copy and paste keyframes across everything. We need something that's efficient, that can actually maybe even change its motion based on the size of the object, things like that. Let's create some parameters for ourselves and create some procedural animation using geometry nodes. So I'm going to select this gear and I'm going to click add modifier, and I'm going to add a geometry nodes modifier. I'm going to click new to create a new one. And then I'm going to rename this something called like rotation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the gear object and I'm going to shift select all of these gears. There's like a lot of them, 51. And I'm going to come over here to this little drop down menu and I'm going to click, let's see, copy to selected. That will copy this modifier to all the selected objects. This gives us some simple transforms. I can rotate on the Z, for example, and all the gears are going to rotate. Let's add some continuous rotation, but in geometry nodes, we don't have to type hashtag frame. We can actually just type in scene time. Yeah, if you type in input scene time, we can come here, we get this little node that gives us seconds and frames. Then what I can do is I can come over here and say, okay, I want to use a combine XYZ node that we are in frame 126. So this will output the number 126, which isn't a vector. And a vector is a set of 3 numbers in Blender here, like this. So I need to make a vector out of it. So I can say, all right, look, just put this number into the Z. And then if I put this in the rotation, hit play, you can see now everything's spinning frantically based on the frame. So we can slow that down. We can do the same kind of thing. We can come over here and grab a math node. Math node is the node that we use to do calculations in math on single value numbers. If I was to do it over here, where I've got a vector, which is again, a single thing that is 3 numbers representing X, Y, and Z, I would need to use the vector math node to do the same kind of stuff. So that's the difference. Notice the color code really helps identify the difference. Anyways, we're going to drag this here. We're going to switch this to multiply, and we're going to do the same thing we did in the driver. We're going to multiply by 0.01. Let's see what that looks like. It's a bit better, 0.1. So they're cool. They're all rotating. They're all doing stuff. All right, now sometimes watches have gears, right? And instead of just turning constantly, they have this kind of cool rotation. It's like stops and goes back and kind of clicks like that. So let's try and do something like that with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Shift D to duplicate this multiply node. And then I'm going to come around and I'm going to look at all the different operations that we can do with this node. And there's one here called ping pong. So I'm going to grab that. If I drop this here, now the gears are going to ping pong back and forth based on the scale value. Now that's pretty cool, but if I want them to like move like this, but then keep making progress, right? So they don't just keep going back and forth in the same place, then I'm going to Shift D, duplicate, switch to the add function, and I'm going to add a value that changes over time. So I could take my frame and I maybe get another multiply so we can scale that frame specifically for this part, and then we'll add that value to it. And now you can see we're getting a very different effect where it's adding, because it's equal here, this is cool, it stops it, right? Because normally the ping pong is going backwards, but it's going backwards at the same rate that this is adding going forwards, right? So you get this chick, chick, chick thing, which is pretty cool. And we can change the scale. That will allow it to turn for longer before doing the tick-tock. That's pretty cool. All right. So that's all really good, but it'd be nice if these were offset and they weren't all turning exactly at the same time. So we can adjust the ping pong a little bit based on something that's unique to each individual gear. So what I can do is I can grab an object info node, and the object info node will give me info about an object, and I can grab the self object node and plug that in here. So instead of picking one object in the scene, kind of like we did with the driver where we had that empty just traveling up, what we can do here is use the self object, and now wherever this geometry node system is applied to something, the self object is just going to look at the object that it's applied to. So it's always grabbing whatever unique gear this is assigned to. So this will give me different information for each one of these. So I'll have a different location, for example, for each gear because they're all in different spots. So I can use this location as something to drive the scale. So let me come over here and actually I'll use a multiply to scale the node. I'm just going to grab the vector and plug it in straight like this. It will combine those values into a single value so that I can use it here. I don't know exactly how it does the combination, but it doesn't really matter. The point is it's going to be a different number for each gear. That's all I want. So I'm going to change this to like 0.1, or maybe I'll just set it to 1 for now, just so it's neutral. And I will plug this in here to the scale. Now this is going to give us very different tick-tocky motions, and you can see that the gears are going to start getting out of sync based on their position. And what's cool about this, using the location, means gears like these over here that are fairly close together. I'll just zoom in on these over here, like these guys. They all have fairly similar locations, so they're actually going to tick-tock in a way that's somewhat similar. So they're a little bit in sync, which feels like they're connected somehow, which is really cool. So, all right, let's go back over into the rotator geometry nodes. Okay, so we got a lot of cool things going on with geometry nodes. Now we can apply this to anything we want. We could take, let's see, this thing back here, this giant piece, and we could put geometry nodes onto it and grab rotator, drop it on, and now that's going to start turning, which is pretty cool. And we can make variations on this. So, let's say instead of having full rotation, we just want to have kind of like a random back and forth motion. So let's change this particular one. So I'm going to click the double paper icon, and I'll call this back and forth. And with this one, instead of adding this value constantly in here, I'm going to just bypass that, stick that straight in the Z. So now this one should just go back and forth based on its scale or location, which is cool. That's giving us a different result. Now for this bracket, I want to have some random motion where it kind of occasionally moves a little bit, but not a whole lot. Now I'm going to use something different. This is another approach to procedural animation that's not geometry nodes. So I'm going to click on this gear bracket thing, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to move on the Y rotation. So I'm going to click a key here to set a keyframe on the Y rotation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to switch to the graph editor, and I'm going to open it up and grab the Y rotation channel. Then I'm going to come over to this side panel here, and if you don't see it, you just look for the little pop out there. And I'm going to click that. And what I'm going to do is go modifiers, the modifier tab, and I'm going to click add modifier. I'm going to go to noise. And what that's going to do, if I just jump to this curve, you can see it creates a lot of random noise in the Y rotation. So if I play this, you can see it's going all over the place. Let's expand that out so it's slower. So I'm going to take my scale way up. So now it's got a much slower rotation amount. I also want to bring the strength down. It's going a bit too much. So I'll bring it down. So now it's just rotating a little bit. I'm going to bring the scale out further, give it more of a gradual rock motion. And now what I want to do is add another modifier on top of this. I'm going to I'm going to grab limits. Limits is going to basically limit how high or low this curve can go. So I'm going to set a minimum for the X and the Y. So the minimum on the X, I'll just expand 1 and -1. Okay, so now by dragging these around, let's go to the maximum first. I'm going to bring this down. You can see what it does. It creates these flat caps. If I bring this one up, it's going to do the same thing, create flat bottoms. And that's going to give us gaps where there's not going to be any motion. So we're going to get these adjustments, and then it's going to hold. And that'll create a really cool, lifelike kind of mechanical motion. Then come back over to the noise, for example, and take the scale up more. Maybe the strength a bit to make those moves a bit sharper. You could make the depth a bit more complex. Crank that up to 2. See what that looks like. Just going to create these subtle adjustments, which is quite nice. Now, I could do something similar with other parts. Like I could grab, for example, the shell right up here. So I'm going to take these modifiers, and I'm going to click this, which is the copy modifier button for the F curves. So we've copied it. Now I can select this shell. Let's find out which rotation we want to mess with. All right, so there we go. I'm going to go with the X. So I'm going to create a key there. And you have to have a key in order to access these. So even if it's just one key, that's all you need. So I can open it up, grab the channel, and then over in the modifier tab, I can click the paste icon, and now it's going to paste it. Now we need to adjust this so it just doesn't look so crazy. Cool. Now it's in sync a little bit with this one. And so I might want to change the phase, which will move this thing around. Likewise, the offset. We'll change the timing on it. That way they're quite unique and they don't step in sync if you don't want that. All right, let's do some stuff on the antenna. So I'm going to, once again, come over here and find what rotation I want. I'm probably going to do a bit of all three on this one. So first I'll start with the X, set a key. I'll go ahead and set keys for Y and Z as well. And then I'll open up the transforms and I'll grab X and I'll paste this in. Come down to limits, -1, 1. And the reason why I have to reset that each time is because they're in different places. So now you can see with all these effects kind of working together, you get this really nice procedural dynamic scene where it feels quite alive. Now, the last thing that we can do to really enhance the feeling of the shot being alive is to take our camera and add some procedural motion to that as well. So I'm going to select my camera and I'm going to keyframe the location and the rotation. And then I'm going to add a noise modifier to these guys as well. So I'm going to grab X rotation and I'm going to add a noise. And I want to find the curve and I'm going to bring the strength right down. I want these to be very subtle effects. And I'll bring the scale way out as well. Add strength down even more. 0.05 with a scale of 30. Feels pretty good. I'm going to copy that, come to the Y, paste it. I have a little bit of Y rotation. And I'll come to the Z as well, and I'll paste that there. Now I need to offset these because they're all kind of in sync, which will create this sort of just diagonal motion. So I need to find the curve using full stop. And then I'm just going to offset each of these significantly. So I'll just offset that one a whole lot, offset this one the other way. So now they're each very unique. We can also increase the depth. I'll go to 2 with each of them. And I'll create just a slightly more complex noise curve. Now we can add a little bit of up and down. So if I go to the Z location, I could paste this in here. Now we're going to get a really subtle little bit of up and down motion. Set the offset to something like 1,000 there. And then let's copy this and put it in the Y. Let's do a touch in the Y as well. Change my offset. And X, paste, and change my offset. Very nice, subtle handheld camera motion. What's cool about this is that we can also animate on top of it because this noise is just procedural on top of the existing curve. So I could come and grab the original keyframe that we set and just put it back here and then come forward to the end of my timeline and do something like a simple push in. If I lock my camera to view, I could just push in a little bit and then and set a location rotation keyframe. And now you can see we've got a nice subtle push in. If we right click and set it to linear, it'll just progressively move in the whole time. And now we've got all of that motion working together to create a really nice, really living feeling shot, which is super cool. So you can see the advantage of procedural animation, how you can take something like an image like this. We've got a lot of parts, but you don't want to spend all the time animating everything, and create some systems using geometry nodes, using curves in the graph editor, and creating noise through those things, like with the displacement modifier as well on the leaves, all that coming together to make a shot feel much more alive than it did before. Hope you really enjoyed this tutorial and learned some cool stuff. Again, check out BugBots over on CG Cookie. If you sign up for a free account over there, you can get the download pack of these Kit Bash Kit things. It's got a few of the components in there. Go check it out. Thanks so much. And please consider joining my channel by joining over on Patreon or on YouTube. You can get the full uncut version of this video, which has a lot of extra stuff, and I talk a bit more about how this bug was made. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. Every tutorial I have has bonus content available there for everyone that supports the channel. So thank you so much. Again, you can get this project file as well. So this beetle is available right now if you join on Patreon at the 2nd tier and up. You can get this whole bug scene animated, ready to go. So if you want that, you have to join this month or next month. That's the only opportunity you've got. So check the published date of this video, head over there, check it out. Hopefully you get it. If not, there'll be other exciting things there. So check it out regardless. Thanks so much to all the supporters on Patreon and everybody who supports on YouTube. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. I will catch you in the next video. See ya.